Hello, everyone. My name is Dave. Welcome to 2D Reviewers. I am flying solo on this video because Dirk does not like to Dirk does not like to know about the villains ahead of time until we actually sit down and play the campaign, which this box is scheduled to come out in late March currently. So it will be a while before Dirk will talk about these villains. Um, I know everyone's excited, and I am as well. But I ask that people restrict their comments about villains to this video and other solo videos that I might do about this product. And if you want to talk about the hero cards, feel free to do the other video that I did with Dirk and talk to your heart's consent, and Dirk will participate. He will not participate in any talk of the villains, and I ask that you respect his wishes to not be spoiled. He goes out of his way to avoid social media when it comes to that villain stuff. So, all right. So, without further ado, let's talk about the Age of Apocalypse campaign box. So, the end of the world has come. After defeating the likes of Magneto, Mr. Sinister, and Strife, the X-Men and X-Force have returned home expecting some well-deserved rest. Instead, what they found is worse than anything they could imagine. Professor X is dead, the world is in ruins, and a ruthless tyrant rules over what remains of humanity with an iron fist. Brace yourself, heroes, for the Age of Apocalypse has arrived. Final Fantasy Games is thrilled to announce Age of Apocalypse, the 7th campaign expansion for Marvel Champions, the card game. As the conclusion of the Mutant trilogy of expansions, this campaign expansion sees the X-Men and X-Force team up to take down one of the most powerful mutants in history, Apocalypse. Age of Apocalypse comes with 5 brand new scenarios, and just like with all other campaign expansions, you can play each of these scenarios individually or sequentially as part of a larger campaign. This box also kicks off a new wave of playable X-Men heroes for the game, beginning with Bishop and Magic, both of whom come with a fully pre-built and ready-to-play decks right out of the box. This foe is unlike anything our heroes have faced before, so you'll need to pull out all the stops to take him down. Do you have what it takes to survive the apocalypse? We have a card fan, which we'll go over the cards. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the first villain, and then I'll go back and we'll look at all the cards, because I'm not going to click the link in between the paragraphs. So the first villain we have, so it's an Age of Despair. The story of Age of Apocalypse picks up right where Next Evolution left off, at the grave of Charles Xavier. Our heroes barely have time to grieve when the first prelate of Apocalypse strikes, Unas and his squad of infinites. Now, I'm not familiar with this character, so I could be butchering the pronunciation of his name, but I'm going to go with Unas. We can see a stage 1 of him. He's got a 1 scheme 2 attack. He's got the prelate trait. Toughness, if the amount of threat on the gene pool is at least 3, he gains Retaliate 1. 6, he gains Stalwart. 9, he gains an Amplify icon. So Amplify adds, when you're counting boost icons, you add +1 to the result. Okay. Unflinchingly loyal to his master, Unas enters the fray with a legion of infinite soldiers under his command. Unas and his minions draw strength from the gene pool, which accumulates threat whenever the hero's allies are defeated. Okay, so you don't want to watch chump blocking. The gene pool grants both Unas and the Infinites several new abilities depending on how much threat is on it, and Unas can add more threat to it through the likes of his prelate sidearms and the effect on the main scheme, hunting gene traders. Okay, and then we have a mission here. Evacuate survivors. After you resolve a mission attempt, place 1 attempt counter here and deal 1 damage to each ally at the mission. So I guess you assign some of your allies to the mission. If there are 4 attempt counters here, Remove mission team from the game and flip this card over. Shuffle each player's card at the mission into its owner's deck. Flip mission team and this card over. Unis is a dire threat to the heroes on his own, but he is not the only prelate of Apocalypse at large. While playing the Age of Apocalypse campaign, the heroes must rely on their allies to handle special side missions around the globe. These missions take the form of special mission side schemes such as evacuate survivors, which can only be thwarted by the allies that you send to take care of them. Oh, okay, that's so they're sending them in other parts of the world while you deal with the main threat. That's interesting. The allies form your mission team and won't be able to help you deal with the main villain while they're away. Okay. They also don't count towards your ally limit. So it's almost kind of like a own separate play area, kind of like stage 2 at Kang when people were separated. Side missions come with their own special rules and mechanics, as well as overseer minions, such as the bizarre Sugar Man that gets in your way. It can be challenging to defeat them, but this effort is worth it. In addition to special campaign rewards that can aid you in later scenarios, you must also get an immediate you also get an immediate benefit depending on the current side scheme. For example, when you defeat evacuate survivors, it flips over and lets you pull any card you want from your deck or discard pile and add it to your hand. It also flips mission team to the other side, granting your party some additional card draw for the rest of the scenario. We won't go into much detail on the ins and outs of the side mission today. Just know that they do a great job of making each campaign scenario feel like global threats. All right, so this is okay. Looks like we're going to have a standard 3, but we'll get back to that. So let's go back to the top. And we'll look at the cards in a little more detail. So here's Unis, which we already looked at on the main page. So we'll skip that card. All right, this is an infinite soldier. It's a 1 scheme, 2 attack, 3 hit points. Got the infinite trait. Guard. If any amount of threat on gene pool is at least 3, this minion gains quick strike. 6 gains surge. 9 gets plus 3 hit points. Doubles the hit points. So the gene pool is a side scheme that you're going to want to keep under control, which here it is. It's only got 4 threat, but permanent setup. After an ally is defeated by anything other than consequential damage, place 3 threat here. So if you chump block, you're adding 3 threat to gene pool, which can pump the number up. And if you're playing with expert, master plan is definitely not going to be fun. Prelate sidearm attached to Unis. After Unis attacks and defeats an ally, place 1 threat on the gene pool. So he's adding more with his sidearm. After you make a basic attack against Unis, spend an energy strength resource to discard this card. Okay. Then we move on to the main scheme, which is hunting gene traders. 11th threat per player is the cap. Force response. After resolving step 1 of the villain phase, place 1 threat. So gene pool is just going to constantly go up. If the scheme is completed, players lose the game. We had 1 threat per player per turn. All right, evacuate survivors, which we read this one. So this is dealing with the mission. So let's see this. We have some more cards about the mission. We have mission team, which is a support. Mission team cannot be discarded, and the first player gains control of it. So this is like your first player marker. Action. Exhaust mission team. Choose. Reduce the cost of the next ally played to the mission by 2, or make a mission attempt. And again, we have to successfully get 4 mission attempts. Yeah, if there are 4 mission attempt counters, then you can advance the mission. All right, here's Sugar Man, who's a minion Dash scheme, dash attack, elite, overseer, victory 5. Hopefully that number is significant in this campaign. 5 hit points per player. He cannot take damage while another minion is at the mission. After you discard cards, heal 3 damage for Sugar Man for each physical resource discarded. That's a mission response. So I wonder if we're going to get a mission phase, or there's his own treachery deck maybe that makes you discard cards, like a mission encounter deck or something. Who knows? Then, when the mission was completed, the side scheme was complete, we're going to flip it over. And after you flip to the side, remove each card in the mission area. Okay, so it is like its own play area, it looks like, from the game, and do the following. If the mission was not defeated, deal each player a face-down encounter card. If the mission was defeated, each player searches their deck and discard pile for 1 card and add it to their hand. Okay. And this is the backside of Mission Team. Finished. Mission Team cannot be discarded, and the first player gains control of it, so it's still a player marker. And you can exhaust Mission Team as an action to choose a player to draw a card. So we're gaining a free Avengers Mansion, effectively. All right, and that's standard 3. We'll get back to that when we read the cards. I will skip reading those 2 cards, so when we get to the card part. All right. Speaking of threats, there's a new standard encounter set in this expansion as well, the standard 3 set. This set serves as a side grade to the original standard set by changing how nemesis enter play. So instead of Shadows of the Past treachery from the normal standard set, this set provides the permanent environment pursued by the past, which builds up pursuit counters over time until it eventually flips to summon a nemesis set into the game. The rest of Standard 3 set has various ways of placing pursuit counters with cards like Dark Design, Sinister Strike, and Evil Alliance. The Standard 3 set is roughly the same difficulty as the original Standard set. So be sure to give it a try if you want to shake things up. All right, let's take a look at the cards. So first we have Pursued by the Past. Permanent setup. After you place a pursuit counter here, if there's a number of counters here is at least 3 more than the number of players, remove each counter here. If your nemesis minion is in play, it activates against you. Otherwise, flip this card over. So ideally, multiplayer, only one person's nemesis minion set comes out. The minion is in play when this pops. Otherwise, we're adding a second minion set in, which nemesis set in, which would not be good. Okay, and then if we flip the card over, it's permanent. After you flip to this side, find your nemesis minion and reveal it. So this is the Shadows of the Past part. Search your set-aside area for your nemesis side scheme and reveal it. Shuffle your remaining set-aside nemesis set into the encounter deck and flip this card. So this is exactly Shadows of the Past if it flips over. So you got your minion and your side scheme, and then the treachery cards get shuffled in just like Shadows. All right, Dark Design. So Dark Design, place 1 pursuit counter on Pursued by the Past. Then, if it has any counters on it, which it will, the villain's scheme. So this is the advance replacement. After this activation resolves, place 1 pursuit counter on Pursued by the Past. Okay, the next card is Sinister Strike. Alter Ego, place 1 pursuit counter on Pursuit of the Past. Then, if it has any counters on it, which it will, this card gains Surge. And then if you're Alter Ego, if you're Hero, place 1 pursuit counter on Pursuit by the Past. Then, if it has any counters on it, the villain attacks you. So this is the Assault. Evil Alliance. Each Nemesis minion in play activates against you. If no minion is activated this way, place 3 pursuit counters on Pursued by the Past. After this activation resolves, place 1 pursuit counter on Pursued by the Past. So this is, I guess, might be the gang up replacement, basically. Except for it's only with Nemesis minions, and it could be Nemesis minions that are engaged with other players as well would still activate against you. Okay. And that's war, so we'll get to that when we start dealing with the Horsemen of Apocalypse, which is the next villain. After defeating Unis, the heroes will have to deal with the most notorious agents of Apocalypse, the Four Horsemen. This scenario pits you up against four villains at once. So again, this would be kind of like the Wrecking Crew group. All four of them are out at once. But I'm assuming only one activates against you at a time, because that's usually the way it is. War, famine, pestilence, and death. Similar to previous multi-villain scenarios, there you go. So only one member of the Horsemen will be active at a time. But in this scenario, none of the Horsemen will be defeated until you reduce all four of them to 0 hit points. So kind of like Corvus Glaive and Proxima Midnight. Soaring above the battlefield on their golden horses or on metal wings, and in Death's case, and then these Rough Riders bring devastation everywhere they go. Okay, let's take a look at these guys. So first we have War. War is a scheme of 1, attack of 2. He's a horseman traded. Force response after War activates after War attacks you. If he has at least 1 hit point, discard an upgrade or support you control. Okay, that's horrible. War cannot be defeated while another villain has at least 1 hit point. He's got 9 hit points per player. Famine, scheme of 2, attack of 1. She's a horseman. After Famine attacks you, if she has at least 1 hit point, discard the top 10 cards of your deck. Okay, so I'm seeing Wrecking Crew vibes. Except for, unlike a Wrecking Crew, you kind of can concentrate on one and then they go away, and eventually you can get them down to one villain. It looks like all four of these guys are still going to be out and doing their stuff until you take all their combined hit points down. That's why they're pretty low. She has 9, and I think War had 9. So, yeah, these all appear to have 9 hit points. That's not so bad per player. That's side A. So there's the flip side will be side B. Again, similar to the Wrecking Crew. Scheme of 2, attack of 1. After Pestilence attacks you, if she has at least 1 hit point, treat your identity box as if it were blank, except for traits, until the next villain phase begins. That can be very devastating. A lot of heroes rely on, that the text box. Like that'll mess like Domino up. Yeah, that's pretty bad. Pestilence cannot be defeated while another villain has at least 1 hit point. All right. Death, again, he's got 9 hit points. This is on side A. Scheme of 1, attack 2. Aerial Horseman. After Death attacks you, if he has at least 1 hit point, deal 1 damage to each character you control. Okay, good. We're seeing the Wrecking Crew formula. This is very interesting. I like the Wrecking Crew scenario. I wish you could put some more variety into it, but the concept is nice. This is them with the fact that there's going to be modular encounters that you can mix in, plus standard 3. Golden Horse gives +1 scheme, +1 attack. Attach the villain with the fewest hit points without aerial. Attached villain gains aerial. So Death would never get this, but, there's probably 3 of them maybe in the deck. So eventually all 4 horsemen could be flying, which could be pretty bad because they get aerial and they're considered to have at least 1 hit point. So you have to let these go away, it looks like, because after you attack, the attached villain resolve its forced response as if it just attacked you, then discard the card. So if they get a horse, they can't go away until you attack them, take their punch back, and then get rid of them. So yeah, you got to get them all down to 0 and have no horses. And then we've got Metal Wings. This is for Death. +1 scheme, +1 attack. Attach the Death and move the active counter to him. He gains Retaliate and is considered to have at least 1 hit point remaining. After you attack death, resolve his force response as if he just attacked you. Discard this card. Yes, there's going to be a lot of coordinating, making sure there's no wings and no horses when you get them down to 0 hit points. And we have Rough Riders. This is a team-up card, kind of looks like. Yep, resolve the force response on the active villain as if it had at least 1 hit point and attack you, then move the active counter to the next villain and resolve its force response the same way. So you're getting hit by 2 of them at once. All right. And then that's Apocalypse. We'll get to Apocalypse. All right. So now we go to Apocalypse here. Of course, even the 4 horsemen pale in comparison to Apocalypse himself. This tyrant is 9 invincible, and he only grows in power the longer the fight goes on. Beginning with his first stage, Apocalypse gradually upgrades to stage 2, then stage 3, and finally stage 4. Wow, 4 stages. Each time the main scheme, the Age of Apocalypse, is completed, the same scheme also prevents him from being defeated. How could our heroes hope to win against such an impossible odds? Thankfully, there is a way. In order to defeat Apocalypse, their heroes must first make their way to the heart of the Empire in order to reach the towering citadel. Once they climb the tower and reach the tyrant's throne, the heroes must prove that the villain is no longer worthy. Only then will they be able to end his reign. We'll reveal more about the 4th and 5th scenario on a later date, so brace yourself for what's to come. So it looks like we got 2 sets of schemes. We've got the main scheme for the bad, and then the side scheme story, kind of like Hela, to advance to actually win. All right, so we got Apocalypse Stage 1. 1 scheme to attack. He's got toughness. When the main scheme is completed, remove all threat from it, ignoring the crisis icon. Flip this card and reveal Apocalypse 2. Only got 8 hit points per player, though. That's interesting. Stage 2, he's only got 9 hit points. He's a 2/2. So his scheme went up by 1. Okay. He gains steady. And tough. Still has tough. When the main scheme is completed, remove all threat from it. Remove this card. So if you let that main scheme pop, he's getting stronger. All right. So stage 3 gives him a 3 attack now. He's still steady. He's got 10 hit points per player. And when it's completed, reveal stage 4. And it's saying flip this card. So, okay, this is card 2. So, yeah. So apparently we only have 1 set of Apocalypse, not a standard and an expert version. Looks like we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, so stage 4 is scheme 3, attack 3. Now he's stalwart, and he gains overkill. And this time, now that you've let him advance 4 times, if you let the main scheme advance a 5th time, then you lose the game. And the main scheme hit point, or the threshold, is based on the hit points. It says X is the numeral in Apocalypse's printed hit value. So stage 1, that's going to be 8 threat per player. It starts with 1 threat per player. Okay, so you have 7 turns for it to pop without any scheming or anything like that. So when Apocalypse would be defeated, discard each attachment from him and heal all damage from him instead. So if you kill him, that's a good way to get rid of his attachments, but he remove X threat from this scheme. Oh, okay. So if you keep beating up on Apocalypse, it helps keep the bad half of the story, because it looks like there's going to be a side scheme, good half, and this is the bad half. So you can either thwart this like crazy, or you could just keep hitting him, which will thwart this, and maybe try to keep him at stage 1, so you're dealing with a little easier Apocalypse than, say, stage 4. All right. Okay, so now this is the beginning of the good how we win part. So this looks probably a progress of side schemes, kind of like the Hella scenario, for example. Threat cannot be removed from the scheme while a prelate minion is in play. The first player reveals a random set-aside prelate minion. Deal each other player an encounter card. Flip this card over. It's got an acceleration token. It's only got 2 threat on it, though. Okay, the Towering Citadel. The threat cannot be removed from the scheme while prelate minion is in play. When defeated, same thing. So you automatically get a prelate, so it'll slow down the next stage. And each other player gets an encounter card, which there's probably going to be a prelate heavy death to slow you down. And this only got 3 hit points, but 2 acceleration icons. Then the Tyrant Throne, same thing, except it's 3 acceleration icons and 4 threat to start with. And then No Longer Worthy is an attachment. He gets to heal 5 hit points per player, and he cannot take damage while a prelate minion is in play. But now you ignore the forced interrupt on the main scheme. When Apocalypse is defeated, the players win the game. So that forced interrupt's the healing, I think. Let's see. Forced interrupt. Forced interrupt. When he would be defeated. Yeah. So that prevents that now you're able to kill him, where before he would just get healed and you remove the attachments. Okay. Back to that here. He cannot take damage from the prelate minions in play when Apocalypse is defeated. Okay, so yeah, so then you knock him back down to 0, and then you can win the game. All right. Oh, and then we get to Bishop. Okay, so again, Dirk and I did a video with talking about Bishop and Magic's cards. So please see that video for our thoughts on that. But this was a sneak preview of the 7th box, 7th campaign box for Marvel Champions. Right? Is it 7? Yeah, I think it's 7th. Yeah, 7th campaign expansion. Yeah, so we had Red Skull, Galaxy's Most Wanted, Mad Titan Shadow. So I'm kind of seeing a pattern because that was Avengers, Guardians, and then Avenger Guardians. This one, then we had a Spider-Man box, Sinister Assault, or Sinister Motives, I guess it was. And now we've got we have the X-Men box, Next Evolution for the X-Force box, and this Age of Apocalypse is, well, it says X-Men Heroes, but there's some, but as we saw in the hero, well, you'll see in the hero one, there's some X-Force allies, and I'll give you a little preview. Here's a silhouette of the 4 upcoming heroes. So we got Bishop and Magic, which are both X-Men. According to the article, these are all X-Men, so I suspect we're going to have X-Men heroes and some X-Force allies. But it would not surprise me if there's an X-Force member in there somewhere. But yeah, so you could look. So it looks like maybe on the left could be Iceman, maybe Jubilee, maybe. Although I don't ever. I mean, I haven't read the Marvel comics in quite a while. I never saw her with a hairdo quite like that, but it could be Jubilee, especially with the phone and like the trench coat. The third one's got to be Nightcrawler with the pointed ears. And then the last one maybe Havoc, Cyclops' brother. Who knows? But anyways, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you at a future video. Thank you. Bye.